The sun had barely pushed over the jagged peaks of the Arizona mountains when the settlement began to stir. A pale orange glow washed over the dusty ground, catching on the smoke rising from early morning fires and glinting off the metal ornaments woven into Apache women's braids. The air was still cool, but beneath it lay a tense heaviness, one that everyone felt but no one dared acknowledge aloud. Today was a day marked for punishment, for tradition, for fear disguised as righteousness. Near the center of the settlement, two young brides were dragged from a small shelter by three stern-faced elders. Tala, the elder of the two, walked with her head held high, her long black hair unbraided and wild from the struggle. Neola, younger and softer in spirit, clung to Tala's hand, tears streaking silently down her cheeks. Both wore ceremonial dresses that had once symbolized hope for marriage, fertility, and honor. Now those same garments trailed through the dirt like shrouds. A crude wooden gallows stood just outside the main circle of huts, its shadow stretching long across the ground. It had been built quickly, rough beams tied together with rope, sturdy enough for hanging but far from elegant. It wasn't tradition to kill the infertile, but fear had grown among the elders, fear that the spirits were angry, fear that the tribe's future was cursed. And fear often disguised itself as justice. Villagers gathered in hesitant clusters. Some whispered prayers under their breath, some looked away in shame, but none stepped forward to stop what was about to happen. Punishment delivered by the elders carried the weight of generations, and no ordinary villager felt entitled to challenge it. Tala squeezed Neola's hand gently. "Raise your eyes," she whispered. "If this is our last sunrise, let us watch it without fear." Her voice did not tremble. Neola tried, lifting her gaze to the horizon where streaks of gold were spreading like spilled paint. But fear sat heavy on her chest, too thick to swallow. "I don't want to die," she whispered back. The elders forced them forward, placing them beneath the hanging beam. Two nooses, coarse and tightly woven, swayed lightly in the morning breeze. The sight of them brought a ripple of unease through the onlookers. A hawk circled overhead, its shrill cry cutting through the silence like a warning. Just then, a distant sound broke the tense stillness, hoofbeats approaching from the east. Slow at first, then steady, strong, and unmistakably purposeful. Heads turned. Dust rose in a narrow trail as a lone rider came into view, sitting tall on a chestnut horse. The cowboy's hat cast a shadow across his face, but even from a distance, his posture radiated a kind of controlled anger. He didn't slow down as he neared the crowd. Instead, he urged his horse straight toward the gallows, stopping just feet away from the elders. His voice rang out, low but powerful. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" It was the first act of defiance anyone had dared, and it changed everything. The entire gathering froze as the stranger's words sliced through the morning air. The elders stiffened, their authority suddenly challenged by a man who did not belong to their world. The cowboy dismounted in one swift movement, boots hitting the ground with a dull thud. Dust swirled around him as he stepped forward, his hand resting on the worn leather grip of his revolver, not drawn, not pointed, but resting there with a message none could misunderstand. Cole Maddox. That was his name, though no one here knew it yet. A wandering cattleman, seasoned by years of traveling the frontier alone, with a sharp mind, a sharper aim, and a deep-seated hatred for injustice. And what he saw now, it ignited something inside him he hadn't felt in a long time. The eldest of the Apache council stepped forward, lifting his chin in defiance. "This is our punishment. Our decision. Our tribes matter." His voice was rigid, hardened by pride and fear. "You have no place here, cowboy." Cole's blue eyes narrowed beneath the brim of his hat. "I don't need a place," he replied. "I just need my conscience. And it ain't letting me watch two innocent women get strung up because someone decided to blame them for nature's will." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The women, Tala and Neola, stared at Cole with a mix of shock, confusion, and a flickering spark of hope they didn't dare trust. The elders pushed the brides back toward the nooses, attempting to regain control. "Move aside," another elder snarled. "Outsiders do not question our laws." Cole stepped directly between the brides and the elders, planting his feet firmly. "I'm not questioning your laws," he said, voice steady as steel. "I'm telling you this isn't right. And you know it isn't." Silence thickened, stretching like a drawn bowstring. One of the younger warriors stepped forward, spear raised slightly. "If the tribe allows them to live," he said coldly, "the spirits may punish us all." Cole lifted his hands slowly, no sudden moves, no threats. Or maybe, he answered calmly, your spirits will be happier if you show mercy instead of fear. His words struck deeper than he knew. A few villagers lowered their eyes. Some shifted uneasily. Doubt had entered the circle. Cole seized the moment. Let them go with me, he said. I'll take them far. You'll never see them again. No shame. No spirits to fear. No blood on anyone's hands. The elders exchanged long, tense glances. Refusing risked angering this armed outsider. Agreeing meant losing control, but protecting the tribe's image. Finally, the head elder spoke, voice stern but wavering at the edges. If they leave, they do not return. They will be dead to the tribe. Tala lifted her chin. We were dead to you already. Neela swallowed her trembling, stepping closer to Cole as if the space around him felt safer. The elder nodded sharply. Take them, and go. Cole didn't wait. He motioned for the women to follow and led them away from the gallows, away from the stairs, and away from the life that had condemned them. As they walked toward his horse, Tala whispered, why help us? You don't know us. Cole didn't look back at the tribe. I don't need to know someone to keep them from being killed unfairly. Behind them, the gallows stood abandoned in the rising sun, a monument to the cruelty they had just escaped. And for the first time, Tala and Neela realized they had stepped into a future that no one, not even they, could have imagined. The trail stretching westward was long, lonely, and carved by years of wagon wheels and cattle drives. Cole Maddox rode at an easy pace, letting the chestnut stallions' hooves thud softly against the packed earth. Tala and Neela walked beside him, not because he wished to keep them on foot, but because they refused to ride behind him. Trust, Cole knew, wasn't something you asked for, it was something you earned. They remained quiet for the first hour, the weight of the morning still pressing heavily against their minds. Tala's steps were steady and strong, though her heart beat with a tension she didn't show. Neela walked closer to her, fingers lightly brushing Tala's arm every few minutes, as if reminding herself they were still alive. Cole studied them from time to time. He wasn't a man of many words, but silence could only last so long. You're safe now, he finally said, breaking the hush. Tala didn't look up. Safety is a dream people like us lose early in life. Cole nodded slowly. Then maybe it's time you got a little of it back. Neela's voice came soft, timid. Where are we going? To a place no one knows about, Cole replied. A cabin I used to stay in while moving cattle. It's empty now, but it's quiet, hidden, and far from anyone who'd want to hurt you. The women exchanged glances, uncertain but hopeful. As noon settled in, the air grew warm. The desert stretched endlessly around them, sagebrush, jagged rocks, and the distant shimmer of heat rising from the earth. But Cole knew the land. He guided them toward shade when possible, paused near a creek to let them drink, and never rushed their steps. By the time the sun began to dip, they reached a small valley nestled between two tall ridges. At its center stood a weathered but sturdy cabin, built of rough-cut timber and marked by years of wind and rain. Smoke-blackened stones formed a circle where a fire pit once stood. A collapsed fence lay scattered across the grass. It wasn't grand, but it wasn't a gallows. This is it, Cole said, sliding off his horse and stretching his back. Home, for now. Tala scanned the surroundings, noting the closeness of the river and the towering cliffs that shielded the valley. No one comes here. Only me, Cole answered. And only when I need a place to think. Looks like I wasn't the only one needing that. They entered the cabin slowly. Inside, dust coated every surface. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the wooden walls. But the place smelled of old safety, not new danger. Without hesitation, Cole set to work. He fetched water, patched a loose board, and lit a small fire in the stone stove. Soon, he was cooking a pot of beans and cornbread. The aroma filled the room, to Tala and Neela's surprise. You didn't bring us here to claim us? Tala asked carefully. Cole shook his head. No, ma'am, I brought you here so you could breathe. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Then Neela whispered, thank you. That night, wrapped in blankets, belly warm with food they hadn't expected, they slept with a peace they had forgotten existed. Outside, the river hummed softly, washing away the last echoes of the gallows. The days that followed became an unexpected rhythm, simple, quiet, and unlike anything Tala and Neela had ever known. At first, they approached each sunrise with caution, half expecting trouble to come riding over the ridge. But with each passing day, the emptiness of the valley began to feel less threatening and more like a shield drawn around them. Cole Maddox rose early every morning, long before the women stirred. He repaired the cabin roof, chopped firewood, and hauled water from the river. His movements were steady, unhurried, and oddly comforting. He didn't treat them like burdens or fragile creatures. He simply acted as though 3 people surviving together made more sense than 2 women surviving alone. Tala began wandering the valley during the day, identifying plants and herbs she remembered from childhood. She found wild sage, sweetgrass, and a vine she used to heal fever. Cole watched from a distance, noticing how she seemed to come alive among the plants, strong, grounded, and purposeful. "You know the land better than I ever could," he said one morning as Tala prepared bundles of drying herbs. She shrugged softly. "My mother taught me. Before the tribe forgot I had value." Her words held no bitterness, only quiet truth. Neola discovered her own strengths. She repaired the cabin's torn cloth coverings and wove baskets from willow branches near the river. Her hands moved gently but skillfully, as if they finally had a place to create rather than tremble. She hummed soft Apache melodies while working, sounds that drifted across the valley like warm breeze. Cole taught them too. He showed Tala how to ride his horse, Luna, a calm, dark-eyed mare. Tala had always walked everywhere in her village, riding felt like a newfound freedom. The first time she managed a slow trot, she laughed, a rare, unexpected sound that echoed across the valley and startled even herself. Neola, meanwhile, learned how to shoot with a rifle. She was hesitant at first, but Cole guided her hands carefully, never invading her space. After several attempts, she fired a shot that hit a tree trunk dead center. Her eyes widened. "I did that." Cole grinned. "Sure did. You're a natural." Evenings were the best. After supper, they gathered around the fire inside the cabin or outside under the vast blanket of stars. Cole would listen as Tala and Neola shared stories of old Apache myths, tales of Coyote the Trickster, of the spirit world, of the sacred mountains. Their voices were soft yet full of history, weaving a culture Cole had never known into the fabric of their new home. In return, he told them stories of cattle drives, dust storms, shootouts he narrowly survived, and the ghost towns scattered across the frontier. They were different worlds, yet somehow they fit together in the light of the fire. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the 3 of them formed something unusual. Not a family bound by blood or law, but by circumstance, respect, and a shared loneliness the world had carved into all of them. For the first time, Tala and Neola found themselves choosing life, not merely surviving it. And Cole, who had wandered the frontier alone for years, discovered that company didn't have to mean pain or obligation. In that hidden valley, surrounded by cliffs and sky, they were building a new life, one breath, one day, one small act of kindness at a time. Peace rarely lasts long on the frontier. Even in the safety of the hidden valley, change rides quietly, like a shadow in the afternoon sun. A full year had passed since Tala and Neola escaped the Gallows. In that time, the cabin had transformed into a small ranch, fences rebuilt, a vegetable patch growing beside the river, and a storage shed Cole built with his own calloused hands. Life had found rhythm and purpose, something none of them expected. But beyond the valley, whispers began to spread. A trader named Boone, a wiry man with an easy smile and a wandering tongue, came riding through one afternoon. He often bought baskets from Neola and herbs from Tala to trade in towns nearby. But today, his expression was uneasy. As Cole hammered in the last board of a new corral gate, Boone cleared his throat. "Heard some talk out east," he said. "The old tribe, they ain't too happy." Cole paused mid-swing. "What kind of talk?" Boone shifted in his saddle, lowering his voice. "Rumors say the elders feel shamed. Folks in nearby settlements say you stole their brides, made 'em slaves, or worse. They're stirring up riders to come, retrieve, what they think is theirs." Cole's jaw clenched. Tala and Neola, who had been sorting herbs on the porch, stopped in their tracks. A chill rippled through the sunlight. "They're not property," Tala said, voice low but fierce. Boone nodded. "Ain't sayin' they are. But pride is a dangerous thing. Especially when mixed with fear." After Boone rode off, silence settled heavy on the ranch. The river's gentle murmur was the only sound breaking the tension. Cole walked toward the porch. "You two don't have to worry," he said. "If they come, they'll find out real quick you're not the same women they tried to hang." Neola folded her hands tightly. "We don't want bloodshed." Cole met her eyes. "Neither do I." But he began preparing anyway. Not with weapons, though he cleaned the rifles and checked every round of ammunition, but with evidence. He gathered the herbs Tala grew, the baskets Neola wove, the vegetables from their garden. He packed them neatly beside the corral, hoping to show that Tala and Neola were not cursed, not helpless, and certainly not enslaved. He wanted truth to speak before bullets did. For days, they waited. And then, early one morning, the sound of distant thunder rolled across the valley, not from the sky, but from hooves. A group of Apache riders emerged through the ridge pass, their painted horses kicking dust clouds into the dawn air. Faces stern, bows ready. The elders among them looked even harsher than before. Tala and Neola stepped forward immediately. No hiding, Tala whispered to her sister. Not this time. Cole stood beside them, steady, silent, prepared. When the riders halted a few yards away, the head elder stared at the women long and hard. They were not the frightened brides he remembered. Their backs were straight, their eyes clear, their presence strong with purpose. You live here, the elder said. Under a cowboy's roof. We live free, Tala answered. By our own choice. The elder's jaw tightened. Cole spoke next. You can see they're safe. You can see they're thriving. If you came to take them back, don't. The air pulsed with tension. For several long moments, no one moved. Then one of the younger warriors, once among those dragging the brides to the gallows, looked down, shame flickering across his face. They're not cursed, he murmured to the elders. Look at them. Whispers spread through the riders. Finally, with a frustrated growl, the head elder turned his horse. If they live here, they are no longer of us, he declared. Let the spirits judge them, not us. And just like that, the riders retreated. No arrows, no blood, only relief and a newfound strength settling into Tala and Neola's bones. The threat had come, and passed. And the home they built had held firm. The morning after the Apache riders disappeared back into the distant hills, the valley felt different, lighter, stronger, almost sacred. The threat that had loomed over Tala and Neola for more than a year had finally broken like a storm cloud giving way to clear sky. For the first time since their escape, they felt truly, completely free. Cole Maddox stood outside the cabin, leaning against a fence post he'd built himself. The sun warmed his shoulders as he watched Tala tend to a patch of newly blooming herbs. She moved with confidence, kneeling, trimming, bundling, her hands sure and steady. Not the hands of a woman condemned, but of a woman reborn. Neola, meanwhile, worked with two young horses in the corral. She had learned Cole's quiet approach to animals, patience first, firmness only when needed. The horses followed her commands willingly, as if recognizing the gentleness in her spirit. Never thought I'd see the day, Cole murmured to himself. Tala wiped her brow and glanced over. See what? You too, living like this. Strong, free, not looking over your shoulders anymore. A soft smile touched Tala's lips. Freedom feels like something we had to grow into. Neola joined them, brushing dust off her skirt. And this place helped us grow. The ranch had become more than shelter. It was life woven from three broken pieces that somehow fit perfectly together. The fences stood straight, the crops thrived, the horses fattened, and the cabin, once lonely and forgotten, now echoed with laughter, conversation, and the warmth of shared purpose. As summer deepened, they made a habit of sitting outside at sunset. That evening, the sky painted itself in strokes of orange, pink, and gold. Neola carried out a pot of stew she had perfected, using herbs Tala collected. Cole set down 3 wooden bowls at the table he'd carved himself. They ate in easy silence, the kind that comes only when people no longer fear losing what they have. Cole, Tala said softly after a while, you didn't just save our lives. You gave them back to us. He shook his head. I didn't give you anything you didn't already deserve. You gave us a home, Neola added, eyes warm. Cole swallowed lightly, caught off guard. A home's just wood and dirt. You two made it something more. Tala reached across the table, laying her hand on his. Not as a bride, not as a burden, but as a partner. We're not going anywhere. This valley, this life, it's ours now. Yours too. A quiet emotion flickered in Cole's eyes, relief, gratitude, maybe something deeper he never allowed himself to imagine. Then I reckon we make it official, he said. Not by law or church, but by truth. We're family here, whatever shape that takes. Neola nodded, tears glistening. Family by choice. That night, the 3 of them watched the stars rise over the valley, a sky filled with endless possibility. No judgment, no curses, no gallows waiting at dawn. Just freedom, just home. Just the lives they built together on a quiet patch of land where fate had brought them, mercy had saved them, and love, unspoken but real, had finally rooted deep and strong. The story ends not with sorrow, but with belonging. A cowboy, two Apache women, and a home carved from second chances.